Are you sick of high Ethereum fees? Welcome to the club. It's becoming increasingly expensive to use those DeFi tools. But what if I told you there was a way to significantly reduce those fees and save thousands of ETH in the process? That's exactly what I'll be covering today, so don't go anywhere. Right, folks, there have been some reports of some strange goings-on around Crypto City, so me and my team of FUDbusters have been deployed to clean up this town. Just to let you know, although we're the best in the business, we're not financial advisors, so be warned that everything you're about to see is for educational and entertainment purposes only. Now, we do some dangerous work here at the Coin Bureau, so be sure to stand back and observe from a safe distance as we bring you the highest quality crypto content on the tube. Now, if things get too scary, you can always use those timestamps below to skip ahead, though watching the whole way through is the best way to keep those demons at bay. Okay, now, stand back and don't cross the streams!
Not an inflatable gun.
Yeah. But you can't just buy these things on the darknet. No, not a fan?
I'm not too sure about this.
Okay.
Did we run out of budget for this
Yeah,
one?
they've blown the budget. We blew the budget on the boiler suit. Now get back to TikTok. What do we think? So why are ETH gas fees so damn high? Well, that all comes down to network demand. Even though EIP 1559 changed the way that the gas market operated, it was not intended to have an impact on the actual amount of fees. As demand to run DeFi dApps has skyrocketed, so too has the base fee level used in transactions. As NFT demand goes through the roof, demand for ETH computational space to mint these has as well. Even though EIP 1559 is creating long-term value for ETH holders through fee burns, the unsustainable fee levels are still a massive problem. Now, of course, this is not Ethereum's final form. Development on ETH 2.0 is taking place at an ever-increasing rate. The proof-of-stake merge could be with us as soon as February next year. However, in the meantime, everyone is pulling their hair out because of fees, including yours truly. Now, this has also led to many people looking beyond Ethereum to other competing crypto ecosystems. This is why we have seen these immense rallies in coins from Avalanche to Polkadot to Cardano. Now, this is unfortunate because there are a number of solutions that are available right now to all of us. Solutions that take us off the main Ethereum chain and allow us to run DeFi dApps at a mere fraction of the cost. Moreover, because these scaling solutions execute transactions and computations off the main Ethereum chain, they're able to do it much more quickly and efficiently. No more of those dreaded failed transactions. So what are these scaling solutions of which I speak? Well, we first need a bit of an intro to this technology. Broadly speaking, there are a few different off-chain scaling solutions out there, but those that are getting the most attention these days are sidechains and Layer 2 protocols. So, what are these exactly? Well, let's start with sidechains. These are separate and independent blockchains that run next to the main Ethereum chain. These chains will only interact with the main chain when it comes to updating the state of the ledger. Given that these are independent blockchains, they rely on their own security and consensus mechanisms. This means that they can opt for a consensus mechanism that is much faster than Ethereum's proof of work. These include the likes of proof of stake or delegated proof of stake. These sidechains are also Ethereum compatible, which means that they can also run many of the same dApps that are used on the Ethereum main chain. However, and this is an important point, given that these sidechains rely on their own consensus models, they also have to rely on their own security. So if you're going to use a sidechain, you're going to have to trust that the nodes on the network cannot collude. If they do, and are able to gather 51% of the network control, then they can launch what is called an invalid state transition attack. These security concerns are something that many people in the space, including the VDog himself, have talked about. When it comes to the smart contract capability of these sidechains, although they can be made compatible with Ethereum-based dApps, they don't support participation of open smart contracts. This therefore means that you cannot use the likes of a Uniswap interchangeably on the Ethereum main chain with that of the sidechain. The code for the dApp will have to be separately deployed on the sidechain. Okay, so that's sidechains. Now, when it comes to Layer 2 protocols, there are quite a few on the market. These include Plasma and Rollups. Plasma uses a child chain architecture, and I've covered it on numerous occasions on the channel. So feel free to watch my most recent Ethereum scaling video for more information on that. Rollups, on the other hand, are the talk of Ethereum Town. So, what are they? Well, quite simply, rollups are an off-chain aggregation of transactions that exist all within an Ethereum smart contract. It's in this smart contract that users can transact with reduced fees and congestion. At some point, these transactions will be settled on the main chain, essentially batched transactions submitted all at once. Given this mechanism, throughput can be scaled up from a mere 15 transactions per second all the way up to 1,000 transactions per second. Now, what's really important to understand here is that these rollups are not a sidechain. They exist within Ethereum as a series of smart contracts which execute these transactions and computations. And given that they exist within Ethereum, they leverage the security of the main chain. There's no need for a separate consensus method and independent validators. Oh, and when it comes to these rollups, they are all compatible with already established smart contracts on the Ethereum network. This means that the most popular dApps can easily be deployed and have a rapid impact on reducing congestion on the main chain. Now, without trying to complicate this any further, I do need to touch on the difference between the two separate rollup categories. These are ZK rollups and optimistic rollups. Now, the way that these two differ is in how they deal with the review process. More specifically, how they check for fraudulent state submissions. In the case of ZK rollups, they send batches of transactions back to Ethereum accompanied by a special type of cryptographic proof. This is the validity proof, and it's used to verify the correctness of the batch's transactions. Essentially, what's happening with these transactions is that those submitting them are guilty until proven innocent. Now, when it comes to optimistic rollups, the Ethereum network will assume that a bunch of transactions that have been submitted are correct. However, if anyone that's monitoring the rollup chain sends what is called a, quote, fraud proof, then the transactions are rejected. In order to facilitate this, optimistic rollups have a particular window or dispute period whereby users of the network are permitted to send their fraud proofs. In order to disincentivize bad behavior with optimistic rollups, bonds are required. Those that are submitting the transaction data have to put up a bond as well as those that are submitting the fraud proof. If either one of these parties cheats, i.e. sends fraudulent transactions or fraudulent fraud proofs, then their bond is slashed. Now, when it comes to the pros and cons of ZK rollups versus optimistic rollups, there are quite a few. Now, I've linked to this really helpful blog post below that goes through all of them in detail. The TLDR of it is that although ZK rollups are more secure and have a better user experience, optimistic rollups are better suited to DeFi. Because they offer execution models that are very similar to the Ethereum virtual machine, it's a lot easier for developers to move their code over from Ethereum. So that's all the tech behind these Layer 2 solutions. It's now time to drop the theory and look at using these in practice, the fun part. The first and perhaps most well-known scaling solution out there is, of course, Polygon, previously called the Matic network. This is a sidechain solution that has its own token, which supports a proof-of-stake blockchain. Validators on the Polygon network will secure the sidechain and will submit the state of the network back to the Ethereum main chain. Polygon also has a Plasma implementation, which is the child chain architecture that I told you about earlier, but we'll focus on the sidechain version today. Since Polygon launched earlier this year, we've seen an explosion in total value locked on the network. A few months ago, it was one of the most popular Ethereum scaling solutions, and some of the best-known Ethereum dApps have already been built onto the Polygon network. You can see a full list of them here, a really comprehensive list at that. This, of course, makes sense when you consider the fact that Polygon has committed over $100 million to help fund development on the network. Money does help grease the wheels, after all. Anyways, if you want to use the Polygon network, you have to bridge your ETH over in order to bag yourself some Matic. There are two bridges currently available, and they are the Proof of Stake bridge and the Plasma bridge. The Proof of Stake bridge is the recommended one, so we'll use that. The Matic that you receive in return for your ETH is going to be used as gas within the Polygon ecosystem. While you're here, you can interact with all of those dApps that I talked about earlier. The gas fees are minimal compared to ETH, and it really is a seamless experience. Now, I actually have a whole video dedicated to this, so I suggest you watch that after this one if you want the step-by-step Polygon guide. Now, although the Polygon network is one of the most popular scaling solutions, there are still criticisms out there. The main point comes down to its security and centralization. As discussed, we have to trust that the validator nodes don't collude against network participants. Perhaps it's because of this that the Polygon network is actively looking to introduce rollup technology. In fact, it recently had one of the largest network merges in the crypto space with the Hermes network. Quite simply, this is an Ethereum scaling solution that leverages ZK rollup technology. The network will be rebranded Polygon Hermes, and those ZK rollups will be implemented. So that's what's on the horizon for Polygon. However, it seems that most of the attention over the past month has been on projects using optimistic rollups, and the first of those is Optimism. Optimism is a project that I covered before in my previous Ethereum scaling video. It was developed by Optimism Labs, which received $25 million from famed VC firm Andreessen Horowitz. It was supposed to go live with its mainnet in March of this year, but numerous delays pushed it back. However, in July, it finally launched, and one of the first dApps that it was integrated with was Uniswap. It was able to do this so quickly because Uniswap had been working on a proof of concept for optimistic Ethereum called Unipig. Now that Optimism was live, the team were ready to deploy Uniswap v3 on it. I started using this about a month after it went live. It's important to point out, though, that it is still currently in alpha stage, so if you are going to be using Optimism with these steps, don't ape in with all your ETH. So, with that disclaimer out of the way, let's get down to some DeFi. Given that this is a Layer 2 solution, you're going to want to migrate your Layer 1 assets over to Layer 2 using a gateway. This can be done right from the Optimism homepage at optimism.io. The gateway looks pretty simple and has a Uniswap feel to it. All you need to do is connect your Web3 wallet by hitting Connect and selecting which wallet you use. I'm on MetaMask, so I'll hit that. Now, if you've not connected to Optimism before, then you're going to have to authorize your wallet to connect to it. Given that I've connected before and have authorized already, it does not require that here. Once your wallet is connected, you'll see the option to send your ETH from the mainnet to the optimistic Ethereum network. Hit that deposit button, confirm the deposit, and you'll have to sign it with your MetaMask and confirm the gas fee. Once this is done, the balance should take about 20 minutes to arrive on optimistic Ethereum. However, when I tried it, it arrived in less than 5 minutes. Once the deposit has been fully confirmed, you can start using optimistic Ethereum. If you've not already, you're going to want to switch to the optimistic Ethereum network from the mainnet. I'll be adding this manually, and these are the endpoints that you need to use. I'll leave a link to this guide below if you want to use it. So once that's done, you can see the balance of my ETH on optimistic Ethereum here on my wallet. I should point out too that you can also bridge over other ERC20 assets using the gateway. You follow the same process. In this case, I sent over 300 USDT. If you switch back to the optimistic Ethereum network, you may not see it reflected in your wallet. However, that's just because you've not added the assets. You can do this just like you would any custom ERC20 asset on the mainnet. I've left a link to all of the contract addresses in the description below. Now that you have your assets on optimistic Ethereum, you can start that Layer 2 DeFi dabbling. Unlike the case with the Polygon network, you can use this just as it is on the standard Uniswap front end. Assuming you're connected to the optimistic network, you will be presented with this. In this case, I'm going to swap some of my USDT back into ETH. So let's hit swap. Although there is relatively little slippage with my transaction, I will caution that for the larger swaps, limited liquidity could be an issue. But with more users comes more liquidity. Anyways, let's confirm that swap. Now, take a look at those gas fees, 0.001345 ETH, which is about $4 at the time of shooting this video. Just to compare, I went to the mainnet to push a similar transaction and the gas was $67. What a difference, right? And that's not all, of course. When I confirmed the transaction, the swap completed in 0.27 seconds. Crazy, right? You can do the same with any of the supported assets with Uniswap on Optimism to see for yourself. You can also deploy liquidity to Uniswap as a Layer 2 liquidity provider, although I would personally avoid that while it's still in alpha. Now, while my demonstration was just with Uniswap, there are a few other DeFi protocols that have been deployed on Optimism, and you can see those here. I've only really used Uniswap and 1inch in the past, so I can't speak for many of the others. A bit disappointing we don't have any of the popular lending dApps there, but I can't complain. Anywho, so that's all well and good. You've done all your DeFi dabbling and now you want to move your assets back to the main chain. Well, you can use exactly the same gateway when connected to the Optimistic network. Here you have the withdraw option. Now, there are two things to note here. Firstly, you'll notice that the ETH gas fees are high to withdraw back. That's merely because you're interacting with the Ethereum main chain. Moreover, given that not many people are using Optimism yet, your transactions have not been rolled up and bundled with many others. The more users that eventually start using Optimism, the lower these withdrawal fees will become. The next thing to note here is the fact that the funds will take a full 7 days to land in your wallet. That's because of the challenge period that is built into Optimistic Rollups, which I mentioned earlier. Okay, so that's a quick guide to using Optimism, a sweet and effective Ethereum Layer 2. However, there is another scaling solution that has the Ethereum community really excited, and that is Arbitrum. Arbitrum is a scaling solution that was built by a startup called Off-Chain Labs. Just to give you an idea of how much interest there was in Arbitrum, it was recently announced that Off-Chain Labs had raised $120 million in order to build out Arbitrum, and building is what they have been doing. In the background, over the past few months, numerous Ethereum developers have been working to integrate their dApps with Arbitrum. Once many of these dApps went live, the TVL on Arbitrum exploded. In under a week, we went from less than $50 million to over $2 billion. That's a 3,200% increase in TVL. Mental. It's also over 14 times higher than the TVL over on Optimism, which sits at over $155 million. So, what the hell is this Arbitrum L2 sensation? Well, it's also an optimistic rollup Layer 2 solution. It uses a challenge period on the withdrawal, just like Optimism. The main difference is in how these two protocols deal with fraudulent transactions. Optimism sends the entire suspicious transaction again through the Ethereum virtual machine, whereas Arbitrum processes the suspicious transactions off-chain and only sends the suspicious part within a transaction back to the virtual machine. What that means in plain English is that Arbitrum is able to achieve higher transaction capacity. Now, a few weeks ago, when everyone was making a big hoo-ha about Arbitrum, I decided that I wanted to give it a try, and I came away really impressed. But my experience may not be your experience. So, let me take you through some of the steps so you can try it out for yourself. I will of course caution that similar to Optimism, it is still in beta, so do be careful with how much in the way of funds you deposit. Anywho, when you navigate to the bridge URL, you're presented with this. The only supported wallet at this stage is MetaMask, so you will have to have that installed. If you don't know how to use MetaMask, then my handy guide linked to in the top right is worth a watch. Now, the Arbitrum bridge looks a bit different to Optimism, but performs the same function. You can either transfer over ETH or ERC20 assets. In this case, I'm going to transfer over Ether from Layer 1 to Layer 2. I hit deposit, then I get the prompt proceed. I need to confirm on my MetaMask and will have to wait a few minutes for the transaction to process. Once it's been deposited on both Layer 1 and Layer 2, I'm ready to start using it. I will first need to connect to the Arbitrum network in order to do so. Now, unlike with Optimism, you can switch right over there on the bridge page by hitting this button over here. This will open up MetaMask and will allow me to confirm the switch. Now you can see that I'm on the Arbitrum network. You can confirm this both on the bridge page as well as checking into your MetaMask. In this case, my 0.4 ETH is showing up. And FYI, you can also transfer over other ERC20 assets using the bridge in this tab over here. The list of supported tokens is given in this JSON file over here, which I'll link to below as well. Just remember that in the case of Optimism, you have to add these token addresses in your wallet once you've sent them over. Now, I'm dying to do a swap over here, so let's do that. Uniswap was one of the first dApps to integrate with Arbitrum, so it makes sense that we give that one a go. Head on over to the Uniswap website and you're presented with this. As you can see, it detects that I'm on the Arbitrum network and picks up my balance. Here I'm looking to swap 0.2 ETH for some USDC. Hit swap and check out the parameters. As you can see, the price impact is not that bad and is better than on Optimism. This, of course, makes sense when you consider the fact that there is a lot more liquidity here than you have over on Optimism. So if I'm happy with the parameters, I hit swap and I will have to confirm the transaction on my MetaMask. Check out those gas fees, 0.0023 ETH, which is about $7 at the time of shooting this video. That's a bit higher than the prices over on Optimism, but it could also have been as a result of the time I'm using it and congestion on Arbitrum. Once I hit confirm, it executes the swap and it takes 0.33 seconds, which is a tad longer than Optimism. Again, probably due to congestion, but for a few milliseconds, I'm not complaining. And that's it, a swap on Arbitrum. Now, of course, there are a number of other really popular dApps that you can use on this layer 2, including SushiSwap, Balancer, Dodo, Curve, etc., etc. I should also point out that Aave is coming to Arbitrum as well. I, for one, can't wait. Anyways, when it comes to withdrawals, you follow a similar path to Optimism. You head on over to the Arbitrum bridge and select whether you want to withdraw an ERC20 token or ETH. Given that these are also optimistic rollups, you have that week-long challenge period. If you're okay with that, you can hit proceed. In this case, the gas fee to withdraw back to the main chain is only 0.0011 ETH, which is about $3.60. This is about 34 times cheaper than on Optimism. Again, this is down to the amount of users on the Arbitrum network. More people withdrawing means more transactions batched into one, which means lower fees for all. So let me go ahead and process that withdrawal and set my calendar for a week. Hopefully, nobody sends a fraud claim. So that's Arbitrum for you. Fast, functional, cheap, and quite easy to use. I, for one, am a fan. Right, I need to start wrapping this video up, folks, as I'm sure you've heard quite enough from me today. I know that the gas fees on the Ethereum mainnet can be quite disheartening at times. It's all too easy for people to say ETH 2.0 will fix this, while users have to spend thousands on gas in the interim. That's why I'm so excited about these off-chain solutions such as sidechains and layer 2s. And with these, it's quite clear that Polygon has the upper hand when it comes to dApp support and TVL. However, times are a-changin'. Rollups are, in my view, a superior technology, and alternative solutions are catching up fast. This has not escaped the Polygon devs, hence the reason for the Hermes merger. When it comes to the battle with optimistic rollups, I have to say that I prefer Arbitrum. It has more dApp support and many more users. Although this slightly pushes up the fees of individual transactions within Arbitrum, the minuscule withdrawal fees make it a no-brainer in comparison to Optimism. I do encourage you to try both though, and that is for a good reason. Not only does it allow you to get a better feel of the Layer 2 experience, but you never know if any of these protocols could one day airdrop governance tokens. Now, this is complete speculation on my part, but if there's one thing we've learned from many of the Ethereum dApps and DEXs, Uniswap, 1inch, Tornado Cash, DYDX, it's that they have generously rewarded early supporters. Some of these have been incredibly lucrative, and it is, after all, free crypto. So that's my alpha tip for you today. Goodness, that was a long one. But I'm keen to hear from you. So what do you guys think of these Layer 2 solutions? Do you have a favorite? Let me know in the comments. And while you're down there, I absolutely have to let you know about my socials page. It's over here where you can find all the official links to the other places that you can follow me. These include my Telegram channel with daily market insight and analysis, Twitter for video updates, news, and other updates. Instagram and TikTok for additional behind-the-scenes content. And finally, my weekly newsletter. It's here that I share my crypto tips as well as a breakdown of my personal portfolio. So if you want to join any or all of those, hey, go nuts. They are down there at the tippy top of the description box. And finally, if you liked this video, then help a brother out. Make that like button blue and don't forget to subscribe too. Ping that bell for good measure, of course, too. You don't want to miss what else I have coming down the tubes. So, till next time, auf Wiedersehen, au revoir, arrivederci, goodbye.